In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace the oiler assembly on a chainsaw. The oiler on your chainsaw is the part that pumps oil from the oil reservoir over to the sprocket and the bar. If you're not seeing any oil on your chain, likely you have a bad oiler and it'll need to be replaced. Most oilers have a couple of gears in them that pump the oil, and those are usually the parts that fail. We'll show you how to replace those parts now. We'll get started by removing the bar and chain. Next, we need to remove the sprocket. But I can't just simply put a wrench on the sprocket and unscrew it, because as I turn the sprocket, it just turns the piston and the crankshaft. So I need to bind up the piston so that it can't move. We'll bind up the piston through the spark plug hole. So I'll go ahead and remove the top cover on the saw to get access to the spark plug. With the cover removed, now I can go ahead and remove the spark plug. I'll use my scrunch for that. Now I can go ahead and bind the piston. I'm going to use a short piece of rope to do that. I just take the rope and insert it into the cylinder. You'll want to leave a short piece of the rope sticking out so you can remove it later. With the rope in the cylinder, now when the piston moves, the rope will bind it up as there's not enough space for the piston to travel. With the piston bound up, now we can go ahead and remove the clutch. There's a special tool made just for removing a chainsaw clutch. The tool has two little pins that fit these grooves on the clutch. I'll slide that in place and then use a socket wrench to remove it. This is a reverse thread. Now remove the clutch washer and clutch drum. And there's a second washer behind the drum that I'll slide out of the way. And now remove the bar mounting plate. There's a spring tab on one side of the plate I'll grab with a pair of needle nose pliers, and then I can pull the plate away. Now we have access to the oiler assembly. Before I remove it, we want to go ahead and remove any oil that might still be in the reservoir. Now I can go ahead and remove the oiler. The oiler is held in place with two screws. I'll also remove this elbow that goes to the oil pickup tube. Now the oiler will slide away from the saw. Now I can go ahead and remove the oil pickup tube. It just pulls out of the saw. The last piece we need to remove is this piece here that looks like a spring. This is actually the gears that turn the oiler. I'll use a couple of screwdrivers to pull it away from the spindle. Now we can begin installing the new parts. We'll start with the new oil pickup tube. The tube simply inserts into the body and then gets pressed in. Sometimes a small screwdriver will help in inserting the tube through the body. You just want to be careful not to tear the tube. Now we can go ahead and begin installing the new pump assembly, starting with the gear. Before you install this gear, you'll want to take note of the distance between the wires on it. Once installed, this distance should be the same. If it's not, it won't turn the gear properly on the pump. So I'll slide the gear over the spindle, and again use my screwdriver to help me slide it down onto the spindle. And that should do it. The new oil pump kit comes with 2 different oil blocks. You'll need to make sure you use the right one on your saw. You can see on our old oil pump, we need the one with the flexible neck. So I'll pull off the one that's already on the oil pump and install the new one. Now it's ready to be installed onto the saw. Before I slide the oil pump onto the saw, I'm going to install the elbow that connects the oil pump to the oil pickup tube. It just makes it easier if you install this first. Now I can slide the pump assembly onto the saw and insert the elbow into the oil pickup tube. And replace the screws. Now I just need to reassemble the rest of the saw, starting with the bar mount plate. Next, the clutch drum, starting with the inner washer, then the drum and the outer washer. Now the clutch. Again, the clutch is a reverse thread. And I'll use my clutch removal tool to go ahead and tighten the clutch back up. You don't need to tighten this too tight because it will tighten itself with use. Now I can remove our rope from the cylinder and replace the spark plug. And the top cover. And last, I'll reinstall the bar and chain.